Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's a great pleasure that I rise to speak on Bill C-86, which implements into legislation a number of provisions that were laid out in Budget 2018. Today, I'll be splitting my time with my honourable colleague and friend from St. Boniface, St. Vital. Madam Speaker, when I speak to this bill, I would like to focus my thoughts on the hardworking middle-class families in my riding of Vaughan Woodbridge who, like Canadians from coast to coast to coast, know that our government is working with and for them to build a stronger economy, a healthier environment, not only for today, but for generations to come, to ensure that our children, much like my children, will have a prosperous future and confidence knowing that our government made the right decisions for their future. I also wish to salute the entrepreneurs in the city of Vaughan who run the nearly 12,000 or over the 12,000 small, medium enterprises. They know they have a strong advocate in myself as their MP in our government to ensure they have the tools to compete and succeed both domestically and globally. Our government is committed to building, yes, a strong middle class, and, Madam Speaker, helping those working hard to join it. We know the results to date, and we're very proud of our record. A record low unemployment rate, over 500 or 600,000 new jobs created, the majority of which are full-time in the last 3 years. And, Madam Speaker, amazingly, over 500,000 job vacancies in Canada. A majority of the jobs that have been created in this great country have been actually from the private sector. Another thing we should be proud about. There are many elements in BC Bill C-86 that I could speak to. Everything from the Pay Equity Act, to the Canadian Gender Budgeting Act, to the Wage Earner Protection Program, to the enactment of the Department for Women and Gender Equality Act, which I'm very proud of. As a father of 2 young daughters, very proud of, which establishes the Department for Women and Gender Equality to assist the minister to ensure that we as a society and a government advance the equality and respect to sex and sexual orientation. Or even amendments to the Bank Act to strengthen protection of customers, strengthen provisions that apply to a bank in relation to the protection of customers and the public. Canadians expect and deserve the strongest consumer protection standards when dealing with their financial institution, and we will deliver on that. But, Madam Speaker, I wish to primarily focus my time this afternoon on one aspect of Bill C-86, which for me represents our government's commitment to building, yes, a more prosperous country, but also ensuring that all Canadians benefit from economic growth, from a more inclusive and fair society. That is Division 21 of Part 4 of Bill C-86, which enacts for the first time a Poverty Reduction Act, which sets out for the first time in our country's history targets for poverty reduction in Canada from coast to coast to coast. The poverty reduction targets our government has put forward are ambitious and realistic and will and are lifting hundreds of thousands of Canadians out of poverty, again, from coast to coast to coast. Our government aspires to achieve a poverty reduction targets of 20% below the level of poverty in 2015 by 2020, and 50% below the level of poverty in 2015 by 2030. Madam Speaker, these targets are not just numbers, but behind them are stories of hardworking Canadians from all walks of life, from all parts of this great country. Canadians are ambitious and steadfast. They expect nothing less from their government. When we look at the measures behind the Poverty Reduction Act, we can be proud of the work we have done as a government, but more so importantly, proud of the work we have done as a country. The pillars of our poverty reduction strategy are based on dignity, to lift Canadians out of poverty by ensuring that basic needs are met. Opportunity and inclusion, help Canadians join the middle class by promoting full participation in society and equality of opportunity. And resilience and security, to support the middle class by protecting Canadians from falling into poverty. How do we achieve these targets, Madam Speaker? Well, Madam Speaker, let me list the measures that our government has put in place. The Transformational Canada Child Benefit, the 10% increase in the Guaranteed Income Supplement, the Canada Workers Benefit, the profound national housing strategy that will see housing needs reduced or eliminated for over 500,000 Canadians, a 10-year, $40 billion plan, Madam Speaker, across this country. In my riding of Vaughan Woodbridge, in 2019, we'll see housing affordability or affordable housing units built, over 150 units for individuals in my riding. Investments in public transit under PTIF 1 and now PTIF 2, which will deliver sustained, secure funding for public transit across Canada. The Canada Workers Benefit, let me touch on that, please. which in Budget 2008 provided a tax benefit that will put more money in the pockets of low-income Canadians. In fact, it is estimated that over 70,000 Canadians will be raised out of poverty and over 2 million Canadians will receive assistance from the CWB. For someone making $15,000 a year, they'll receive $500 more from the CWB in 2019 versus 2018. And in Bill C-86, Madam Speaker, our government will enact changes that will ensure that an individual who is eligible to receive the Canada Workers Benefit can receive the benefit without having to claim it. Automatic enrollment. Madam Speaker, no Canadian is left behind by our government, and the automatic enrollment mechanism that we have included in Bill C-86 is one step further to ensure this. Madam Speaker, to achieve our poverty reduction targets, we need to also consider the transformational social program that we introduced, the Canada Child Benefit. We're delivering funds, checks to families that need it, not millionaires, but families, hardworking middle-class families across this country. In my riding alone, it equates to about $5 million a month, helping over 17,000 children and 9,000 families with an average payment of over $500. That is real change that is working for Canadians from coast to coast to coast. That is real change that is benefiting middle-class families from coast to coast to coast. Madam Speaker, we also indexed the CCB 2 years ahead of schedule, which will put hundreds of dollars of extra dollars to families to help them pay for kids' sports activities, save for their education, or buy clothes for the upcoming winter. The CCB is estimated to lift nearly 300,000 children out of poverty. For seniors, Madam Speaker, we raised the guaranteed income supplement, promise made, promise kept, by 10% for our most vulnerable seniors. In my riding of Vaughan Moorbridge, over 2,000 seniors received on average over $800 extra for the annual period. And that is real change, helping real Canadians, helping our most vulnerable seniors. We came to an agreement with the CPP, the Canada Pension Plan. We enhanced it. We strengthened it for future generations. Madam Speaker, there are other measures that we've instituted, but I'd like to talk briefly in my remaining time allotted to two measures in C-86, and one deals with the Canada Labour Code. For many of us that follow labour relations, there was this element of labour relations dealing with contract flipping or contract retendering. And it was one of these things that was really unfair to the middle class, unfair to hardworking workers, and we've addressed that. It is contained in Division 15 of Part 4 of this bill, where our government will address continuity of employment issues when a work, undertaking, or business becomes federally regulated, or in case of contract retendering. This is important, Madam Speaker, as there are instances where employees obtain a new employer through contract tendering process, and then they face much lower wages for exactly the same job. As anyone follows what happens out at the airport in Toronto, this happens to many workers out there where they'll be employed with an employer making, say, $20 an hour. A contract retendering will come up. They'll have to go to a new employer who will impose a much lower wage rate. It's unfair. We've addressed it. The legislation is actually in line with other jurisdictions, including the UK and Australia. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And we'll do that. I won't read the exact pertinent section in the Act, but I encourage my colleagues from all parties to do so. It's groundbreaking, and it will ensure that we help all middle-class Canadians, all hardworking Canadians, including those workers that face contract retendering. Madam Speaker, in Bill C-86 and in prior budgets, we've also addressed the issue of tax fairness and tax avoidance, and our government has invested approximately $1 billion into the Canada Revenue Agency. In Bill C-86, this morning there was an article in one of our national newspapers applauding our government in taking concrete measures that are in Bill C-86 that look at the issues of tax fairness and tax avoidance. Yes, we have a prosperous economy. Yes, Canadians are working at record levels. Yes, we have more women, or the highest labour force participation rate for women in our country's history. But we must ensure that all individuals, all organizations pay their fair share, including large corporations and wealthier Canadians. Madam Speaker, we are preventing banks from creating artificial losses. We're enhancing tax reporting requirements for trust funds. We're strengthening rules for limited partnerships. We're cracking down on tax-free corporate distributions. We're also increasing ownership with regards to corporate beneficial ownership. Madame la Présidente, it's been a pleasure to speak on C-86. There are a number of great measures in this from, I didn't even touch upon the Pay Equity Act, which is transformational for millions of folks in this country that will reduce the gap between what men and women are paid, which we must do so. It's the right thing to do. It's the fair thing to do. It's the thing to do for my two daughters that are at school today for their future, and I'm proud of our government that's acted on so many fronts. Thank you, Madame la Présidente.